Hello there, welcome to the 80th episode of Under the Radar. I am completely stoked to be back today. I have been kind of on a journey, been all over the States lately, and I'm finally at a resting point right now. But I wanted to say, in case you hadn't noticed, I dropped another music video for the song Stop, which will be appearing on the Red Tape, but it is now available on all digital platforms. I filmed the video in North Carolina for that one when I was visiting a friend in a little cop outfit. So a little silly video that I put together for that punk rock song, which completes the trilogy of songs that I did with Mark Esses of Flowers for Dorian and For the Fallen Dreams on drums. Really proud of those three songs, Lift a Mofo Up, Lethal Ingestion, and Stop. So check out Stop, Thief in the Night, and listen to it on Spotify, wherever you want, or just check out the music video. In other news, before I break into the exact episode of today, I'm going to go on a bit of a rant, but number one, I found these drawings, which were the original drawings for the split 7-inch that Dr. Manhattan did with Dorm Life, my band, and that will be one of the last episodes of the first 100 that I'm covering here of Under the Radar. That being said, since I found these, I had to mention I saw that Dr. Manhattan just created an Instagram account, and they have been posting all this nostalgia. And one of the things they just announced was that they are reuniting January 3rd at the Beat Kitchen in Chicago, Illinois, which I wish I could attend that show. I love that band so much, and I have a lot more to cover on them in the future. But that all being said, that ties into today's episode, which is a release by Alarm Clock Revolution, my record label. It's a compilation entitled Alarm Comp, and Dr. Manhattan is a part of that compilation. And again, before I break into the Alarm Comp, though, I want to go back a little bit. I want to tell a story, because as a record label, as an artist, as someone who puts out music, there are so many ideas floating around, and you write these ideas down, you make plans, and not all the ideas come to fruition, not all the plans come to fruition. And so this is one of those things. Alarm Comp to me was it started with a different seed that was planted. I had intended on doing something much bigger first with the Alarm Clock label, and so I guess I'll dive into that story a little bit. So back in 2005, I had put out Dorm Life's It's Not Me, It's You as my first release, and some friends and I were talking about how it would just be a great idea to do a compilation. If you have a label, it's such a great way to get the name out there. I might also add, it was 2005, so we were just before the iTunes, iPod craze, before CDs kind of got rammed off the shelves there and became something that wasn't as important. So 2005, I was making plans for a compilation album, and the seeds for this really sprout back from episode 4 in this series, which could also stem back to episode 1, because I cover the history of this band, but a band called the Super 18. And I've covered the whole history of Joe Contaldo and Tyler Wilde and Todd Zalowski of that band. Joe Contaldo, number one, went on to form a label, that label that put out that release by Super 18 called The Pirate Party, and then released some music by The Broke Downs and The Color Blue, and then changed the name of the label and released The Color Blues 7-inch and Midwest Blues first EP. And anyway, going back to Super 18, when they were a band back in 1999, 2000, they were touring around, and they did a really obscure cover of a song by the Flower Pot Men from the movie Ferris Bueller's Day Off. And in doing so, they had intended, I guess Joe had intended initially, to put out a split 7-inch with the Super 18 and the Dismemberment Plan covering Weird Science from another John Hughes film, Weird Science. So this was a John Hughes themed split 7-inch of two covers from two different films by John Hughes. I thought number one, I liked their cover. I wish I could find a copy of that somewhere. That's one of the recordings I never did get my paws on. But I remember that it was on MySpace for a minute there when that whole thing was going on. They had it up there kind of as a nostalgic throwback for the band, even though they were no longer a band. And that spawned an idea in myself. Joe Contaldo's idea for that 7-inch for me was like, what other songs were in all of these movies? I know some off the top of my head, but I bet there were a lot of other great songs in these movies. My thought was, if you ever seen the movie Dogma, they do a great job at documenting this. Not only that, in the film Dogma, part of it takes place in McHenry, Illinois, which I think is so funny, going back to Super 18 and all of our bands. Kind of this series kind of starts from the McHenry County scene and branches out. But in that film, when they get to McHenry, Illinois, one of the reasons for going there was they were looking for Shermer, Illinois. And if you don't know, John Hughes based his films in a fictitious town or city called Shermer, Illinois, which is this suburb of Chicago. While he did film a lot of the movies around the Chicago area in different suburbs, Shermer does not exist, of course. As I said, it's fictitious. And so my thought was, why don't we take this idea of Shermer, Illinois, and take all Chicagoland acts and do a tribute to John Hughes films and all the songs? I bet there are tons. So most of the bands that I was considering to be on this comp at the time, I was going to call it Shermercore, and kind of reminded me of Mulletcore, that Drive Thru Records had put out long ago. But that was the idea, was various artists VA Shermercore, and it was going to be a pretty lengthy comp, probably at 20 plus songs or something like that. And when I tore through all of those John Hughes films and really looked at the songs that were in them, especially 16 Candles, which does not have a soundtrack, by the way, though it did have a promotional 5-song, I think 10-inch record or maybe 12-inch record that came out with the song 16 Candles by Stray Cats and then some other songs on it. So there were 5 that came out as a sort of a promo vinyl release at one point in the 80s there. Though most of the films that John Hughes did have soundtracks. So like Breakfast Club, we know, and Pretty in Pink had great soundtrack, and Ferris Bueller unfortunately did not. Of course, there are many other films by John Hughes, Weird Science, that you can pull from. And so I found all these songs, and I could do a lot more with the selection, but I wanted to document this for my own fun, I guess, and I guess there's a few select people that might remember this in the scene that I was working with at the time. And in light of what I said about Ferris Bueller, the Flower Pot Men cover by Super 18, I had thought to myself, well, why don't I get Colossal to cover Weird Science? Because I always felt like Colossal had that Dismemberment Plan feel to them. Like Pat's voice was a little bit, lower, but it reminded me a little bit more of that vibe. And so that was one of them. And then, of course, I've covered Colossal many times in this series, most notably episode 49. But one of the bands that I had locked down for the comp at the time was Plain White T's, and they were going to cover If You Leave by Orchestral Maneuvers in the Dark. And I had Tom on the phone. We were mapping it all out. I was talking to Gino Scarum of, at the time he was in a band called After Project, who I've covered. And he had Duck Phone Records, which put out Dorm Life's second album and third album with me. And Gino had a studio called Red Door Studios, which we'll tie more in with today's episode as I get into Alarm Comp. But we were going to try to track all these songs at Red Door Studios essentially for free, and then maybe put it out with Alarm Clock and maybe Duck Phone affiliated, I don't know. But the idea was essentially Plain White T's. This is right before they dropped their second album, All That You Needed. They were not very big at the time, but If You Leave would have been just, I can imagine that cover being killer. Pretty in Pink, I thought the Psychedelic Furs had done that originally. I thought that the singer's voice of that band was very comparable to Chris from the Lawrence Arms. So I thought Lawrence Arms should cover Pretty in Pink, which I covered them in episode 21. Then the song Bring on the Dancing Horses, also from the film Pretty in Pink, by Echo and the Bunnymen. Wanted Unique Chic to cover that, and they were working on a version of that, which would have been freaking stellar. The song Please, Please, Please Let Me Get What I Want, originally performed by the Smiths, more so acoustic by Morrissey. City on Film, Bob Nana wanted him to cover that song, which I covered his debut EP back in episode 41. Then Do What You Do by In Excess wanted The Academy Is to cover that song. Covered them multiple times, most notably in episode 54. And then, of course, getting into Don't You Forget About Me by Simple Minds, one of the most popular songs from The Breakfast Club. Was trying to get Spitalfield lined up to do a cover on that song. Covered them back in episode 34, as well as their first EP. And the song Oh Yeah by Yellow, a band called J plus J plus J, that was on Johan's Face Records at the time, was going to have them do that. The song 80s by Killing Joke from the film Weird Science. Ryan's Hope, I was going to try to get them to do that song, covered them back in episode 47. Then 16 Candles by the Stray Cats was going to have Hush Sound, the Hush Sound, cover that song. Covered their first record, So Sudden, in episode 56. Had them lined up for that. The song Young Americans by David Bowie was going to have This Is Me Smiling cover that. Was talking to them at the time about that. Covered them back in episode 57. Then Snowballed by AC/DC was going to have the Brokedowns cover that, which would have been hilarious. Rumors in the Night by Night Ranger was going to have After Project do that. Covered them back in episode 28. Again, Brokedowns back in episode 71 and episode 5, I believe. The song True by Spandau Ballet. Believe it or not, there is a cover of that, which I covered in episode 38 by Duval. And we were just going to include that on this comp. It was such a killer cover of that song. What a great 80s song. The song Little Bitch by The Specials. We were going to have Slim Jim Conspiracy cover that, Gino Scaram's other band, in addition to After Project, who I covered back in, again, episode 28. Then the song Rotating Head, another ska song by The English Beat, was going to have MSC, our buddy DJ, his band, cover that song. And then Turning Japanese by The Vapors, we were going to try to get Alistair, who at the time was on Drive Thru Records, we're going to try to get them to cover that. And then Rebel Yell by Billy Idol. We were going to have Split Habit cover that, who I covered back in episode 46. Also, Alistair, I talked about them on the Thick Hair compilation, episode 65. And then there were a lot more songs. There was a song by Wham called Young Guns that we were talking about, figuring out who we wanted to cover. The song Gloria by Patti Smith, and also the song If You Were Here by Thompson Twins. Not to mention there was a lot of obscure other things like soul songs that were so good, like Radio People by Zapp. So Dorm Life was going to fit in somewhere there, do a cover. And then we had, probably at the time, like, you have to realize that, like, as I mentioned before, Dr. Manhattan, they were not a band when I was plotting this out. They were still doing Musket Arm, and they were forming Dr. Manhattan. So I think Dr. Manhattan and Felix Culpa would have fit somewhere on this compilation, also, if it would have come to fruition. But other bands that were considered who were heavy hitters at the time, obviously Alkaline Trio probably would have been one of the biggest ones for us. And then at the time, this is 2005, this is right around the time Cork Tree came out. So Fall Out Boy was so big that it was like nearly impossible to even for me to contact them. Then also Rise Against at the time, we talked about getting them on it. Imagine, just for 1 second, if all of that would have come together and we would have had this compilation to represent Chicago at the time, this snapshot of like pre-2005, 2006, like the eyeliner emo era, before that really hit. We would have had this epic compilation of covers. And so that was something that I was plotting out prior to going on the bicycle tour. And then when I came back from hanging out with Mike Park and just all the people on the bike tour, RX Bandits, Finch, like the bands that were part of that. But my thought was that I'm probably not going to be able to get this done as quickly as I want. So this is going to be one of those goals I'm going to put on the back burner that I'll keep etching away at and see if I can pull it off. And sadly, it just fell to the wayside, along with some other projects that I'll mention in the future. There was actually a cover album that Dorm Life was going to do entitled Making Money Off of Friends, which I'll bring up later when I cover the next Dorm Life record, Mustard is the New Ketchup, and I'll document all that kind of like I did here at the beginning. But when I got off the bike tour with Mike Park, I got a lot of his inside scoops of Asian Man Records and just when he branched out, money he lost. It was really a great educational experience for me. Let's fast forward now from 2005 all the way to 2008. Summer of 2008, got done with the Roses tour, was writing the Yellow album, aka Mustard is the New Ketchup, just kind of starting to demo some of those songs, forming Boom Juice at the time with my buddy Dave. I was busy, very busy, not to mention just finding myself in and out of studio sessions for different bands, getting backup vocals done, getting hooks done on like hip hop songs and such like that, all kinds of stuff, showing up to band practices and collaborating on just writing for fun, not taking any credit, just being part of sessions with bands that I was friends with in the scene. And let's just talk about Asian Man for a second. So Asian Man came back to my mind, of course. And I thought about their first, jaunt as a label, and they released a lot of comps, and I still wanted to do a compilation album, but I didn't know what to do. And for me, again, I'll go back to some of those first episodes of like when I talk about, the idea of a compilation was like today's playlist, right? Like Spotify playlist is like kind of like the digital cheaper version of one of these comps. And I think back, like I've covered multiple comps in this series so far. I've covered the Thick Records, comps. I've covered Winter Room Records, 4-way split. I've also talked about different compilations as well. I've talked about Punk-O-Rama. I've talked about Fat Records. I've talked about especially Vagrant and Drive Through. Like Vagrant was the big one for me. 5 Years on the Streets was pivotal to a lot of different new music that I was getting into. And all of those labels, Epitaph, Fat, Kung Fu, Fearless, like all these labels. There were so many, Nitro Records, but I wanted to do the same thing that these labels had done for me and kind of document what we had going on in our scene. And I feel like if you followed this series so far, like there's a pretty hefty, good amount of talent in that area in a very short time span right there of records that were being put out left and right. And much of which were very DIY. And so today's release is none other than the Alarm Comp. VA, Various Artists, Alarm Comp. This is the 6th release on the Alarm Clock label, ACR. And I'm quite proud of most of these songs, most of these bands. A lot of my friends are on here. Let me get into the bands or the songs specifically that I'm not going to play today and talk about them. I talked about Dr. Manhattan earlier, and I do not cover the Dr. Manhattan songs because both of the songs were included on their first EP, For the Lonely Less the Wiser, which I covered back in episode 62. Also recently covered them in episode 76. The band Ryan's Hope, I had talked about reissuing the Trials of Recession at the time that they were recording demos for Epitaph, but I had talked about reissuing the 00 album, so I included 2 songs, my 2 favorites off of that record on here, which I will not play today because you can go back to episode 47 and listen to those songs. Also, Dorm Life, we had a demo that was on here for the Yellow album, and it was a demo for the song Addison, and something just happened with that one that I actually don't even include that on the digital version of this comp. If you have a CD, you can find the original Addison demo, which is track 1 on here. I omitted it from the digital release. When exporting the files, I believe Bob Dorr at Red Door Studios, who recorded it and recorded a lot of our pre-production for Mustard is the New Ketchup, which I'll talk about later, he was bouncing the music separately and the vocals separately, and all my vocals, including the harmonies, were in a different BPM, different time entirely. So then when I took that song and I asked Brian Peters to do a quick mix on it, Brian was just so frustrated with it, and there was nothing we could do that we knew of at the time. I think Bob probably knows what he did now, but yeah, that was a disaster. But you can hear that original version with even more piano lines on it, because we omitted a lot of the piano lines from Mustard because Sarah wasn't in the band at the time. Anyway, things that I'll talk about later, but also the Vaporized song Accessory featuring Capricorus, or introducing Capricorus, was the embryonic song and stage of a group called Boom Juice, which I talk about in the liner notes of this comp. I'll be covering Boom Juice a lot in the future. So I covered that song back in the Vaporized Earth Rising episode. And then the Brokedowns have the song Brains that was included on here off of their album New Brains for Everyone, which was episode 71. Also covered them again, like I said, back in episode 5 in the Pirate Party days. And we'll be covering them in the future. So now that that is all out of the way, let's go ahead and start getting into some of the artists and songs that I will be playing today off of Alarm Comp. All right, so obviously Alarm Comp is going to feature some of the bands that were a part of the label, right? I had released 5 albums by different groups at the time, 2 of which were by Dorm Life, so the same group, 1 of Midwest Blue, my old band, and then Unique Chic and Goodnight Goodnight. As you can see here, we had a little sampler that we handed out at Warped Tour in the Chicago date in 2008, featured all of those releases that I just mentioned. It had 2 songs by Goodnight Goodnight, 2 songs by Dorm Life off our new record at the time, a Vaporized song, which was technically not an Alarm Clock release, but I knew that Boom Juice was going to be an Alarm Clock artist, so I wanted to make sure I included our song off his record. And then, of course, the other 2 releases in the catalog. So we did this little sampler at Warped Tour. At the time, I was actually squatting at Josh and Dustin, my buddy, at their apartment in Roscoe Village. There was a lot of creativity going on. Josh was starting to play out. He's a full-time musician now. I've mentioned him in the past in the Dorm Life episode, and I think in some other things. He also was recently in those 3 videos for those 3 songs that are on the red tape, playing bass in those performances with Mark S's and myself. Josh is a graphic designer as well as musician, and just a great dude. One of my better friends. He stood in my wedding back in 2009, actually. And at the time, I think I mentioned this in the last episode on Vacation Bible School, but Josh was heading up a new creative endeavor. He was heading up Feedback Magazine, doing all their graphic design. And with the first issue came a DVD, which, by the way, Josh and myself perform on this. Josh, I think, played with me. I don't remember what songs I played on here. I know I covered Face to Face's Disconnected, which is still to this day one of my favorite songs, and one of my favorite bands in that genre of 90s, pop punk, street punk, all that good stuff. But I think that cover is on here, the acoustic version of Disconnected, and I can't remember if I played song, like which album I would have played. Probably Roses Are Blue, but I'll do some research and I'll correct myself here. But this DVD came with this first issue, and the Alarm Comp was printed in it. There was a little ad that Josh made for that as well. Let's talk about the artwork to this Alarm Comp, right? So if you notice, one, there's a little suggested retail price, little box there, little starred box, for $4.99, right? $5 for 25 songs. This is like almost 80 minutes of music. We jam-packed it as much as we could, full of local talent and friends. that was spawned by Mail Order for the Masses, by the little suggested retail price on theirs for $3.99. We only went up $1. There's a little inflation by 2008 as opposed to, I don't know, 1997, whatever that was when they put this out. Another thing that was cool about Mail Order for the Masses, I said Mail Order for the Masses. I stand corrected. Mail Order is Fun, which is, I believe, the first compilation in this series. But also on the artwork aspect of this, Brian Finn, who I believe is DJ Danoon's best friend, or at least was. DJ Danoon did the lights. I mentioned him earlier. He was in a band called MSC. He currently travels the country and does lights, I think, and sound. Maybe one or the other or both for Kill Switch Engage. I think he does sound for other bands as well, but he's got to start at the good old Clearwater Theater. Used to kill it on our light shows for Dorm Life. And I consider DJ just a rad human being, good friend. But anyway, so his best friend, Brian Finn, I befriended back in, I think it was 2007. And I talked to him about this concept. He basically drew my idea, which was this idea for a human exhibit at a zoo where the monkeys are looking in at the humans and we are devolved into our natural office setting, right? Like with our banana Macintosh, because Planet of the Apes, right? Anyway, that was the idea for the comp. So Brian did the front cover. Josh did all of the layout itself, Patterson that is, and helped me with the back there. The CD also has the banana Mac and the human office setting. And then under the tray of the CD, there are a bunch of different labels. There are organizations, bands, zines, etc. Just promoting the homies, everybody that had to do with every song that I was on here, or a band or label, and just kind of considered it a family effort. There's a short description underneath the 6 release catalog that I had going at the time of the label, and then on the inside there are liner notes on each track / band that I typed up myself. So I guess without further ado, let's get into the first song. Let's play our first song here. This is a totally exclusive, unreleased song by one of my all-time favorite bands. I mean that very sincerely. A band called This Is Me Smiling. This song is entitled Andy Apathy.
Our government and the TV stations keeping the interest low. My old man told me you can be anything if you possess a will. Now he's part of a big investigation working on Capitol Hill. Mostly within my mind. Andy Apathy, answer me, I need a favor. I can't think right now. Then he laughed at me, handing me a pen and paper. You better write those feelings down. Andy Apathy, talk to me around the failure. I can't be right now. Then he smiled at me kindly like a promise maker. Then he wrote my number down.
Again, my history with This Is Me Smiling goes back to Retro Morning in episode number 15, their original band. And then, of course, I covered their debut full-length in episode 57. But this is what I wrote in the liner notes. I said, "This Is Me Smiling makes us all smile with their witty lyrics and accomplished musicianship. This is an unreleased demo they were working on for a new full-length. Buy their self-titled album in all major stores." Because at the time, their self-titled full-length was on Columbia. It was on some imprint, and so you could get it anywhere. And they were touring very consistently at the time. One of the more notable bands, I would say, on this comp at the time, and my personal favorite. I know my sister's personal favorite. But this song was recorded at Pachyderm Studios, Prince's old studio. That was where two of the albums in this series, Alkaline Trios, From Here to Infirmary, and Every Night Fireworks by Hey Mercedes, were recorded at Pachyderm Studios as well. But they went to Pachyderm and they had a budget, and they brought Sean O'Keefe, and they didn't like what they got for some reason. I don't know what other songs came out of those sessions, but they were going in to record for a second album or start pre-production, and all they released from it was this song. And this song didn't even end up on their second album, on their final album, Only Uphill. This song remains only on the Alarm comp, which makes me feel very special. So definitely go on the Bandcamp site and check out that song if you've never heard it. Great track. It really bridges the gap in between both those two albums, but I think it leans more toward the self-titled as far as the style. Okay, now we're going to get into the next song. Is by Me, Myself, and Rhyme, who I covered back in episode 52. This song features another MC, and this song is entitled I Can't Believe It's Not Butter.
Models can't pose a threat, foes will test, why I suppose to stress. Bitch pressing MCs, so I'm growing pecs. Go and check a lame, that'll show respect.
Money builds a hole in my pocketbook. Fiction that I got a lot, not enough. Working for it, swallow guff. I know it's all different strokes for different folks. Maybe I should get a gun plus a shrimping boat. How does it go? Gotta skip stones to get to the rocks. That's not what I heard. You gotta sell rocks to get to the stones that fit in your watch. Plus a necklace round your model's neck just to get some touch on your crotch. You can find me in the club, putting on my coat, walking towards the door cause this shit is a fucking joke. I'm into making love, I don't fucking study tramps. So go give me some drugs instead of your chubby ass. The artisans double dip cause rappers think they hard as shit. The hustle's turning over, I'm learning how the cards are flipped. Wheelies round the way, go from pimping them to parking whips. The fire on my teeth turns your Chris style to Arbor Mist.
Me, myself, and Rhyme, and I will be seen. The movie screens like Me, Myself, and Irene. Now, if you can rap, man, you'll get the backhand. Talk back, man, I run you over with the black van.
The beat is like a summer day, abs in the clouds, with words that got game like a basketball bounce. Same fall away, jumper, assume name. News change, Callaway, swinger, bell ringer takes a new shape.
It's the most frugal hip-hopper you know. I take all my dates window shopping at Kohl's. The bars are hard, laced with the sharpest darts. These marks have no drive like a car.
You can find me in the club, putting on my coat, walking towards the door cause this shit is a fucking joke. I'm into making love, I don't fucking study tramps. So go give me some drugs instead of your chubby ass.
Great track. I've obviously covered Me, Myself, and Rhyme in the past in episode 52, but here's what I said about that song. I said, Me, Myself, and Rhyme is an MC who won us over with his first LP. He is working on a bunch of new material for a new record ACR will be releasing soon. This track also features the slick stylings of Sam I Am. So there was a rapper named Sam I Am who was kind of a local cat that was killing it at gigs and in the scene of hip hop. By the way, another unraveled project I just realized, I was intending on releasing an album by Me, Myself, and Rhyme. Also, Cassette Deck had talked about releasing music by him as well, which I'll talk about on the next, because I did put 2 Me, Myself, and Rhyme songs on this CD. So I'll be talking about that one a little later. The next band that I'm going to cover is the only band that is not from the Chicago area, a band from the East Coast, from New Jersey, I believe. Actually, they're from New York. So they released a record on Bankshot Records, and I found them just perusing through Pure Volume at the time. This must have been right when I got back from the bike tour. I was just perusing ska and reggae and just stuff that was more adjacent to RX Bandits. Anyway, I found The Fad and I was blown away by them. The Fad, along with Me, Myself, and Rhyme and some of the other groups, got 2 songs apiece on this comp. Not many. I think only 5 of the groups got double booked for the comp. But I like this band so much, and I wished that there were something comparable to their sound in the Chicago area at the time, but I couldn't find anything of the sort. So this song is entitled Vinyl Paradise.
Personal luxury. The stock I live on this castle getting up and I'll be covering you kind of a good day, but when you live in a bed, actually like a pin my right, it's something I can't find. So now I have to listen to my compact disc. Yeah, I hope that I'm all looking say I'm not that brisk. Yeah, so I go in and listen to my compact disc. Yeah, I hope that I'm all looking say I'm not that brisk now.
Great song. Now, here's what I said in the alarm comp. I said, the fad hails from Long Island, New York. They are of ska, punk, reggae, hardcore descent with a dash of hip-hop. We stumbled upon them through purevolume.com. So, again, I'll cover one more song by them in this episode. The next band that I will play a song by is a band called Bright Like Japan. And now this one stems back to episode 64, The Skywriter. The singer of The Skywriter, Mike Sanfilippo, the Skywriter broke up. I think they were demoing for Fuel by Ramen at the time, and I don't know what all happened. I think I talked more about all of that, but they ended up disbanding, and Mike started writing a bunch of R&B and soul kind of stuff. And this is the first song, which I'll be covering the band in the future at Bright Like Japan. This is the first one that he put up publicly on MySpace. The song is entitled Wish I Had More.
'Cause I've been using my voice to keep you coming back, but you don't wanna deal with that. Said I got plenty of excuses. What'd you expect, babe? I'm just a writer. Sorry if I threw out some one-liners. Shame on you for thinking of me. You know I always got about 2 or 3 reasons for letting you go. Wish I had more. These are the things we all think, and always afraid to agree. So empty your pockets and empty your thoughts. For once, tell me what you might actually want.
Such a great song. I love this song. Here's what I said in the comp. I said, Bright Like Japan is fronted by a good friend of ours who went from playing emo rock to R&B soul. This song was recorded on his laptop, and we can hardly wait to hear more. So I will be covering in the future Bright Like Japan's only release, which I think is a 5-6 song EP that doesn't have the song on there, but you got to hear a little taste of what's to come in that episode. Also, I wanted to mention, I just recently was talking with him, Mike, that is, on Facebook a couple months back, and he is now signed to Rock Nation, and his alias is M Bronx, and I can hardly wait to dive in to see what he's doing. He's writing and producing and collabing with a lot of different artists, so I'm definitely stoked to check that out. I'm a huge fan of Rhapsody, who's also on Rock Nation, one of the best rappers. I think I mentioned her in the Psalm 1 episode months ago. But yeah, also part of Rock Nation. So yeah, here's an embryonic, probably the OG R&B kind of experimentation of Mike Sanfilippo, who is now M Bronx, for those of you who are into him. Moving on, we're going to get into Unique Chic. We're going to cover this song. This is another exclusive song. A lot of exclusive songs on this comp. That was another point of it. It was like, do I want to put out songs that are already on albums that I've released or on bands' albums unless they're out of print? And so that was kind of the idea, was anything that is on a record is a record that went out of print at the time and you couldn't get a copy. So this song, however, is one of the few I was really proud of my artists on ACR, that is, because my artists went above and beyond and recorded something brand new and submitted it for this project. Unique Chic, what can I say? What can't I say? I just love that band. I covered their debut album, which was On Alarm Clock, episode 60, and then episode 67. And then I think back in episode 40, I think it was they were on the four-way split by Winter Room Records. This song is totally exclusive. I was going to put a demo off of Unique Chic's first demo. It was called If I Wake Up, and Ernie would not let me put If I Wake Up on the comp. He's like, "Nah, man, you can't do that." They just were not proud of that. And it was a very long song also. So they recorded this song exclusively for the Alarm comp, and this song is entitled Now I Am Kneeling. Such a great song. Another one of those songs that makes me go, this is a really great art project, this little compilation. Unique Chic is just by far one of my favorite bands, as well as This Is Me Smiling. So to have them both on this is like, woo, go me. Good idea for my own personal playlist on a Glassmaster CD. So here's what I said in the liner notes. Unique Chic is the second band ACR put out. Think Jeff Buckley singing For the Sea and Cake, Bob Nana, Braid, Hey Mercedes. This is an unreleased song recorded in a school gymnasium. True story. I believe Mike Sanfilippo, their guitarist at the time, not to be confused with Bright Like Japan and the Skywriter Mike Sanfilippo, recorded this for the band. Anyhow, one other note, aside from the extremely unique percussion on this track, I wanted to say that I realized how much Joe Storita's vocals remind me of the male equivalent to Bjork sometimes. Wow, I love Bjork, and I didn't really make the connection till today, re-listening to this track. So I'm going to be going through all their material just with a different ear now. Anyhow, moving on to the next song I'll be playing, skipping over a couple bands. We're going to move to H2O Soul, who I covered in the past. And H2O Soul, I covered their Soul Reflections EP in episode 70, I believe, months back. And this is an exclusive track from that era that the band sent me. I think they also had it on their MySpace page. This features another singer on it. This song, you can't even get it anywhere on their Bandcamp, on any of their CDs, anywhere. So it was only, again, an exclusive Alarm Comp release. This song is entitled Under My Skin.
But did it ever get here when fear penetrated your heart before my love, dear? Who make concerns or listeners to this letter? Since our encounter, I've learned to manage my feelings better. So the tender memories of we is now our history. Together isn't safe because of our explosive chemistry. Corrosive, mentally, emotional energy, physically sending me through hellfire and back to cool and remedy. In this bipolarity is scaring me. So bye bye, good riddance to what may have become of yours and my try to save this insane arrangement. When we keep marching into the flames, this love is tasty.
You know you got me, you're under my skin. Every time I try to get away, I'm with you again. I can't take this arguing, you know I need to be free. Why don't you set me free? Why don't you set me free?
Okay, Granny, maybe message your girl wasn't that cool, but you ain't have to cut in my crib, bleach up my clothes like slashing on my tires at work. Wasn't enough, right? Now I'm in court with a suit under the spotlight. Cause I went and burnt down your crib, mama and be like, why you had to message that girl up in the first place? But damn, she looked good in that dress, and it was my birthday. Plus I had a Jones for her bones up in the worst way. Maybe if I took some time to learn her personality, then actually we could be on the fantasy with dreams and reality meet. But she talking that shit out the side of her neck, and I wanna shake the shit out the side of her neck. So before we get where we arguing and fighting and arguing, police being called in, charges being filed in. Let's start by listening, building deeper connections. What?
You know you got me. You know you got me. You know you got me, baby, right where you want me. Yeah. You know you got me. You know you got me. Oh, you know you got me, baby, right where you want me.
Yo, my guy is fly. He's in his own element. He caught my eye. He's in the thug regiment, camouflage. It compliments his skin. I'm admiring his tone while we shooting the wind. I mean, hey, while we shooting the breeze. Just the thought of him, it makes me blow my ice cream. So I trust his every word, cause it's Pop's clergy. Silly me to church, boy, if he the one to hurt me. Locked on Channel 9 and he the one can turn me. Now we wrapped up in his trials and stuff that don't concern me. And we were better homies until I dropped my chonies. Every time I wanna lead a brother, go and put it on me. And make me spell it out. Before I'm belling out, I'm hitting high rhythms. It's opera notes, I'm belting out. This voodoo king got me doing things I never dreamed. This voodoo king got me open, slipped his love attack.
You got me, baby, you got me, baby, you got me, baby, you got me, baby, you got me, you know you.
Dope track. The sample in that reminds me of the like early to mid 90s Bad Boy. I feel like they used a sample from, I want to say it was a Junior Mafia song, but I could be wrong. Great track. Here's what I said in the liner notes. H2O Soul has been tearing up the mic with their old school flavor of intelligent hip hop for many years now. They have an LP and EP under their belt. This is a new unreleased joint featuring R&B singer Noah. Yeah, great track. Okay, gonna skip over a couple more groups now, and we're gonna move on to the Rutabaga, who I covered in the past. I covered their album These Naughty Lines, released by Johann's Face Records, episode 42, I believe, in the series. And at the time, I was intending on releasing the third album by the Rutabaga. I wanted to, at least. They had not found a label. They weren't working with Johann's Face. They had done a split with Owen of American Football, Mike Kinsella, on Polyvinyl Records that had gone out of print. And so they had their third album in the can ready to go. And so Josh Hensley sent me a copy, and it's not a bad record by any stretch. It didn't quite grab me like their second album did, though there were some tracks on it that I loved, and one of which made the Alarm Comp. This is my favorite song on their third album, It's You. This song is entitled Pellets.
That I was crazy, probably was. He said, only we will know about this. We're probably just trying to kiss him too. I wish I could kiss a big pellet and turn everybody blue for just a minute.
Great track, stripped down, folky. Here's what I said in the comp. The Rutabaga is an acoustic-based, folky, clever artist from South Bend, Indiana, who has released 3 full-lengths, 2 on Johann's Face, and a split with Owen on polyvinyl. So, yeah, Josh Hensley, I've covered him pretty extensively in the past. Let's go ahead and move on to another ACR group, Goodnight, Goodnight, which was a new release at the time. I just put out the 2 EPs on 1 disc. As I mentioned recently in episode 77. This song is exclusive, however, and I believe Daniel Good came and gave me a CDR of it, and it was initially entitled, before it was mixed, I heard a version of it through email, and it was entitled New Uke. But they did re-entitle it by the time Daniel met me in Roscoe Village and gave me the CDR. This is Goodnight Goodnight with the exclusive Alarm Comp only track, Jewels of the Pool.
Easy to make it hard again. I like you in orange, they should have been worn. I was kept you in the cave, you'd have been unsafe.
I like you in blue, I should have been clued. I kept you on the farm, we'd have been safe from harm.
I don't wanna leave, I love you alive. What will I find that I don't got? If I truly look for right here at home, everywhere else makes me feel alone. I wanna take you to wherever you go. Days go too fast when you wanna go slow. No, why us, why not them? So easy to make it hard again.
And then we start again.
I love that band so much. What a unique little snapshot of Matt Engers. I'm glad I finally got to document that song as well, because it was not included in that Goodnight Goodnight episode. Here's what I said in the comp. Goodnight Goodnight is the 4th band ACR put out. Singer-songwriter Matt Engers of Dr. Manhattan and his girlfriend Tracy Morrison have composed an unreleased and lovable, cute, quirky song about their relationship. I think that about sums it up for that. So that was the final Goodnight Goodnight song recorded. So there are 11 Goodnight Goodnight songs that were ever recorded, and they were all on Alarm Clock. So I'm proud to have released their entire catalog. Moving on, another hip-hop track. Again, I wanted to include more hip-hop and R&B, and like I felt Dorm Life, especially at the time, we were really moving more into soul and R&B, as I had talked about in the Roses Are Blue episode, and I was just more interested in that kind of music at the time. 2005-06 was my exit point of a lot of, I guess, emo rock. I don't really have to keep talking about that, but really was more into that style. And so this artist was someone who was introduced to me by Dennis, aka Empire of the group H2O Soul, and his name is DRS, and he had a bunch of songs that he had put on his MySpace page, and I dug his vibe. He was a nice dude, came to some shows at one point, and so this song is an exclusive to the Alarm Comp. I don't know that DRS ever made a physical release of any sort other than some stuff online. but this song is entitled Just Dance.
I take pride in opening eyes and turning heads. It's only right that I step in the freshest threads, and I try my hardest to stay modest, but it's difficult when I'm accompanied by an ebony goddess, my queen with the beautiful smile, the ultimate compliment of my style. And she demands respect from the door, turning heads, leaving every brother's jaw on the floor. One glance got you stuck in a trance, so can you blame me for wanting to dance? I got the notion, I'm chilling today. I'm feeling like I might wanna dance my evening away. And if it's one thing in life that I can guarantee, great times are prevalent in the center of good company. Yeah. And you ain't gotta be lonely, we can do whatever you like. Paint the town or stay in for the night and just dance. And that don't necessarily mean moving your feet, cause we can move to the beat of our own drum and just vibe with each other. I'm in love with mentally dancing with you, and I just know that you're feeling it too. So if I could have this dance and maybe witness what this can turn to, the advocate of making positive tunes, and I'ma keep it coming. I'd advise you to stay tuned and vibe with me, cause I'm making a difference, one line at a time. Each and every sentence is one baby step towards something more positive. Trying to make it better, that's my primary prerogative. So make the most of your life, baby, you only get one chance. Check all your problems at the door and just dance.
Very cool sample in that song. I believe he did the production on that as well as the rapping. Took me back to the Kamikaze kind of like Twista days with Kanye on some of those songs that he did. So here's what I said about DRS. Not to be confused with DRS, the 90s R&B group who appeared on the soundtrack to Jason's Lyric, which, by the way, Jason's Lyric, that's where D'Angelo got his first royalty as a songwriter on BMU, Black Men United. Going nerd on you here, but I know I talked about D'Angelo in the past. Anyway, he's not to be confused with DRS from Jason's Lyric soundtrack. His acronym is for Demonstrating Raw Skills, Delivering Conscious Hip Hop from the Windy City. Yeah, great track. And then getting into the next song, a gal by the name of Ellen, she went under the alias Ellen Loves Everything. And she was doing a bunch of electronic stuff with some dude she was friends with, had a bunch of acoustic demos. I don't think she ever really released anything official, but she gave me a CDR and I listened to everything. And out of all the songs that I heard, the song that I'm going to play you here blew me away. I really liked the production, the percussion on it. And so this song off of the Alarm Comp that I included by Ellen Loves Everything is entitled Misunderstandings.
You're in a halfway phase, feeling that I couldn't shake, now consume every part of me. With the world on my shoulders, I can't do anything. You make me feel like I can't
Great song. There was a re-recording later that she made, a little more full band style, not as electronic, and it was good, but I didn't like it as much as this original version, though I think this one peaks a little bit. The mix isn't quite where it probably should have been. I was probably working with like something that didn't have any stems or anything. It was just like, you get what you get. But love this song. Also showcased another style, a female vocalist. Go way back with Ellen, actually. Ellen, I think she played with Midwest Blue. She must have done like acoustic solo at East Campus in McHenry when we released our Alarm Clock EP with Johann's Face in 2004. I remember, and the Hawk played, and I forget who else played, but yeah, that was she goes way back. She was a good gal. I think she worked at Borders with Tyler Wilde for a while, but cool chick. And she did collab with me and my buddy David in Boom Juice on our Crunk in Public EP. She did harmonies and backup vocals, and it was kind of like a duet, this song called Silent Movie that we did on our cassette. So you can get that on Bandcamp as well if you want to check that out. And what I had to say about her in the liner notes was, Ellen loves everything and loves to make dope electronic-based melodic tunes. She is currently working on new material, so be on the lookout. She played our Sleepless in Chicago release show for our CD back in 2009, Boom Juice that is, and I don't know what else we did together or what she did, so I'm sure she's doing something, but very talented gal. Moving on, I'm gonna play another song by The Fad. Little story though, I wanted to bring this up now that I'm remembering. Josh Patterson and I went to go see this band, The Fad, in Indiana. It was winter. It must have been going into 2008 there. It was before this comp and everything. But we went to go see them in Indiana, and I ran out of gas on the way. Not only did I run out of gas, which I've only done that once, knock on wood, we got to the show and they canceled due to weather and their van and storms and stuff, so they didn't even play. So I didn't get to go see them, but I did include their songs on here. And like I said, I feel like this band just has a great sound. I would put them up with any of the great like third wave ska, punk ska bands from the 90s. This song is entitled Bright Lights and Texaco Stations.
I do my best to take the right till the problems are all out of sight. And then the past is past. I tell you one last time I'm sorry. Bright lights and Texaco stations are a thing of the past. Sing to my appreciation of life. Now it's back intact.
Sick song. The style is just so good. We'll just go to the liner notes. They say, The Fad, once again, we can't stress enough how Kill Punk Rock Stars, which is their full-length album that has these two songs on it, is the best album of this genre since the Suicide Machine's Destruction by Definition and Rancid's And Out Come the Wolves. Buy The Fad's album on interpunk.com. We did. Their album, by the way, you should check them out. They're not a Chicago band, like I said before. They're a New York band, and they did an album called Kill Rock Stars, and it was released by Bankshot Records. And I think Bankshot, I don't know what other bands they put out, other than I know they put out World Inferno Friendship Society. So some great talent on that label as well. But moving on, we're going to skip past the band, and we're going to move on to Me, Myself, and Rhyme again, another one of the artists who got double dip on the comp. This song was actually going to be released by Cassette Deck in some format. I don't know how, but Jim Miller was intending on doing it when he was doing Idiot Ego. I won't get into all that. I know I've covered Idiot Ego in a few different episodes, but Broke Downs, Dorm Life, Dr. Manhattan, you can go back and view those if you want more of those stories. But long story short, I ended up asking Jim, hey, can I take that song by Me, Myself, and Rhyme, and can I use it for the Alarm Comp? And so he got me a copy, an MP3 of that, and I put it on here. And this song is entitled Shoot from the Hip.
Gotta get it, watch me let it go. Ice, mocha, nice with the white lie potion. High diver in my mind's eye, ferocious. Strive, shake the ego, scramble, wrap and replenish. Supply the grip was platonic, the flavor greets the fetish. Get it off my sleeve, it's right where my heart's sitting. I'll start working that in when I punch out the marked finish. May I say it's a great time. Kick a little something as I walk down the bayside. Shift a little sun and start bumping out the gray sky. Break dance, make friends, break sweat, make minds. May I say it's a great time. Kick a little something as I walk down the bayside. Shift a little sun and start bumping out the gray sky. Break dance, make friends, break sweat, make minds. Some add, somehow, some wait. Free way to turning coffee talk into coffee cake. Mix up deck calls, check the story, irreversible damage, but I still plan to see 40. Report to your stations, check the buttons and levels, check your buttons and medals, check but under the settled. Crossing paths like a janitor, genuine conversation, constant judgments of prison. So listen to escape it, unlock the uncritical lock. I can live and feel when it's thickish, dignity drops when you're dropping hints for real. Being a friend means not to offend, got to pretend it doesn't bother you, but it's probably been. Pretentious, coy, streak running gums flapping when its business isn't yours, guess to avoid. Fill it with compliments of favor with a return, the effort's there to set respect for later. May I say it's a great time. Kick a little something as I walk down the bayside. Shift a little sun and start bumping out the gray sky. Break dance, make friends, break sweat, make minds. May I say it's a great time. Kick a little something as I walk down the bayside. Shift a little sun and start bumping out the gray sky. Break dance, make friends, break sweat, make minds.
Easily one of my favorite songs by Daryl. I think might be my favorite one. I just love that song. A different vibe entirely than most of his catalog, although it hinted toward what he was doing in the future, which I will talk about at the end of this episode. Another liner note here for Me, Myself, and Rhyme. Me, Myself, and Rhyme returns with another unreleased song. This guy knows how to write, rhyme, and freestyle. Not only that, but he also does stand-up comedy on the side. He just started a new project called Amateur Nights, which will be out soon on ACR. Go see them live. Now it's all coming back to me. Amateur Nights. I think I went and saw that live too, and that was a short-lived endeavor. But he was working with, I believe, Steady Murphy at the time, producer, DJ. Anyway, we'll get more into that a little bit later. So moving on, next up is a band called Elephant Gun. Now, Elephant Gun was on Cassette Deck Media, CDM, as well as Broke Down's on here. I don't think any of the other bands were on Cassette Deck, but I've covered their history a bit in the past, especially in the last episode with Vacation Bible School. But I believe even in regard to Elephant Gun, I may be wrong about this, but I think Johnny Bodacious and the Bad Attitudes, I covered them in episode 9, their EP, and at the end I played a song called Barrett Hart from their Cassette Deck album that came out way later, just because I love the song. And the singer on that, I believe, I don't know for sure, I could be wrong, but I think he's the guy that was in this band. I don't know that he was singing in the band, or maybe he was. But he has some relation, I think, to Johnny Bodacious and the Bad Attitudes. So Elephant Gun dropped their first full length on Cassette Deck Media, and yeah, I really liked the song, and I decided to ask if I could include it as well, and Jim Miller appeased me on that. So this song is entitled Waltz Number 1.
I just want you to drown my friend.
Great track. a very unique band. I think they put out 3 records on cassette deck. They may have put out more, but I know that last I had checked, they had like 3 records out. This was back in 2012, 2013. Here's what I said in the liner notes. Elephant Gun is doing something very different. Some of their songs are more folky, twangy, and at some points they give off an almost Against Me vibe. Buy their album KP on Cassette Deck Media. Okay, moving on. We're getting to the last few tracks on the record. And this is another band that came from a band that I talked about before in the series, the Skywriter. Episode 64, when the Skywriter broke up, the drummer Kevin Lynch went to Berkeley and started a band called Model Cars. And I heard a couple of the tracks on MySpace and fell in love with it. Especially this song by Model Cars is entitled Falling from the Sky.
I've been where you wanna be, and I have seen the leaves turn in front of me, and here I am, living proof that you can have a piece of mind. So take away my faults and all my sins, and you and I are all alike like twins. You don't love me, never even tried on me, you and me inside. You don't love me, never even tried on me. I have seen the world falling from the sky. Hold your head up high. We will get by.
Very unique sound to this band. I would say that the band's sound reminds me of Braid, and then combined that with Jellyfish or something. You can tell they're very good at their instruments, very unique. The song goes in different places. They released that song along with another one. Those were their original first 2 demos, and those got released on a comp together. And so I was just basically taking one of those that was already released on a comp. They sent me a new song, and I don't know where it is, but it was a very swingy song. It reminded me, it was more clean. It reminded me of Chicago, like 70s Chicago feel. Great song, and in hindsight, I kind of wish I would have put it on here just for the value that it was something totally obscure and I never heard anything more of the band. And I'd have to do some digging. I probably have that song somewhere, but my apologies, Model Cars, Kevin Lynch, that should have happened. But this song is good, and Model Cars, what I said about them here in the liner notes was Model Cars are from Boston, Massachusetts, composed of a bunch of Berkeley music students. This is their first demo. Oh, and their drummer Kevin is really into Questlove, so extra cred for that. Yeah, I remember Kevin Lynch and I talking about D'Angelo's Voodoo and Questlove and Soulquarians and all that stuff, and you could just tell both Kevin especially and Mike Sanfilippo of the Skywriter were just going in different directions. I would be interested to see what else Kevin's done. He's a very talented drummer. Okay, moving on. Now, in 2005, when I was thinking about doing Schermercore, I had not heard this band yet, and so this was a new one for me. This band I've covered in the past. In episode 72, I covered their debut EP, Flowers for Dorian. My buddy Mark, who played on those 3 latest music videos that I've put out for the Red Tape, for Stop, and Lift a Mofo Up, and Lethal Ingestion. What I have to say, though, this song did not feature Mark Esses. This featured their original drummer, which I don't remember their original drummer's name. I'm trying to remember what Mark's band was before this, was like Beneath the Ashen Sky or something like that. I can't remember anymore. But the original drummer that came before Mark, playing with with the band, he went and played for a gal named Sarah Vonderhaar, and we, Dorm Life, that is, opened for her in like 2008 sometime at Clearwater Theater. She had been on some show. I remember talking to him at the show and being like, dude, I loved this song that you played on so much. This would have been, I think, one of the first songs they ever wrote. This song is hard to come by. It's called Karma Cancer. Very unique. Like, it reminds me of like the Strokes drumming or something, like meets Moneen, or I don't know what you'd call it. Like, it's more Midwestern emo meets that kind of thing. I don't know how to even describe it, but really unique song. I love it. I wish the band would have re-recorded it. However, I love this version, and I'm proud to have it included on this disc. Here's what I said in the liner notes. Flowers for Dorian make melodic hardcore-based emo rock. This is their first demo and our personal favorite song by this act. Also, Matt, their guitarist, has a rad clothing company called Slap Ass Creations, which, by the way, Matt and I are going to be talking next month, and we are going to be getting all the artwork done by Slap Ass Creations for the cassette and for the poster for the red tape. So it's all coming full circle. Moving on, we're almost through here. Colossal band I have covered numerous times in this series before. I have covered them back in episode 29, 49, and then again, I believe on episode 65, the Thick Hair compilation, they had an exclusive track on there. I think I've documented all of their obscure songs that are not on their actual releases. However, I haven't played this one yet. And so this is kind of a cheat. Rob Kellenberger, the band was kind of on its way out at the time, disbanding. This was an instrumental song, no vocals. It was probably one of the last things they wrote. And they performed it live and recorded on VHS on a camcorder. And I got the MP3 of that video, and that's what you're about to hear on this track. This song is entitled Trifecta. American Football, just beautiful track. I'm, just grasping at straws trying to get something by that band on here, and was proud to get it. This is what I said in the liner notes. Colossal was one of the best Asian Man Records bands to ever come out of the Midwest. Drummer Rob Kellenberger appeared in other amazing acts such as Slapstick, Tuesday, Duval, and Smoking Popes. This is an instrumental live song transferred from a video camera at one of their last shows. Boom, baby. Colossal. Check them out. Great band. Okay, I got 2 more songs for you. So at the time in Roscoe Village, at the treehouse as I call it, where Josh lived with Dustin, our roommate, Dustin was playing, I believe he was playing bass in this group called Coach House. He may have been playing guitar, but I think he was playing bass. And Coach House was really a different kind of sound going on. They also played our first show, Boom Juice, for Sleepless in Chicago, along with Ellen Loves Everything and H2O Soul. So boom, all those bands played our first show for Boom Juice. Coach House. Anyway, let's go ahead and play just a little snippet of the song Exiting.
And I'm burning everything I ever stood for. With every word I scratch into the boards of this floor. Along with any book I've ever read or written in, they all go up in flames. These thoughts exist just the same. My memory slowly slipping of my hands holding, gripping that of a female wing. Possibilities of different ways to tangle our extremities. The only thought left hurts, then turns left again. And if I'd only fought that curse, I wouldn't have to learn this lesson. But I'm here wide-eyed and contemplating the way my fear is hiding and waiting for me to fall off. Start expecting things to fall a certain way. Said exiting out my mouth from the ears whence they came. Because thoughts are moving south makes sense in the rain. Because I'm burning everything I ever stood for. With every word I scratch into the boards of this floor. Along with any book I've ever read or written in, they all go up in flames. These thoughts exist just the same. Burning everything I ever stood for. With every word I scratch into the boards of this floor. Along with any book I've ever read or written in, they all go up in flames. These thoughts exist.
Yeah, very lo-fi. The band had released a little self-produced EP with little Mario Bros. OG artwork, and I took that song. That was, I thought, my favorite one off of it. But they were working on a lot of other material. There was one song I think I was coming up with vocal lines to sing a hook on, and that never came to fruition. But really liked Coach House, would have liked to heard more by them. Here's what I said in the liner notes about Dustin's band. Coach House is a new hip-hop electronic infused band, very original, and our roommate Dustin just so happens to play bass for them. They are planning on recording a full length in the future. So shout outs to Dustin, Coach House. We got one more song on the official track listing to Alarm Comp to play. This is Dorm Life, my band. I didn't play track 1 by Dorm Life, which was the demo for Addison, but this was the first song I ever wrote for Dorm Life, and I had never recorded it. I would have laid it down with Craig Baker, like during the It's Not Me, It's You Midwest Blue days and everything. I don't know why I didn't, but for some reason I didn't. And then we, Dorm Life, got an opportunity to go record. I'm trying to remember. It was Phil Bonnet's studio after he passed. We went and recorded there, and we retracked Saddest Girl to Ever Hold a Martini off of the Red album. And then I had a little bit of extra time after tracking that, and so I recorded this song that I'm about to play at you right now. But it was weird to try to capture like a very breathy, emo-y kind of thing versus where I was heading at the time with Dorm Life. I remember being just not into Saddest Girl and not into this song. And so I don't know if it comes off that way. I think I did a good job at faking it, but I had this obscure MP3 that I wasn't going to use, so I put it on here. This song is entitled 333.
Reasons are simple, yet nothing you say can bring smooth conclusions at 3:33 in the morning. With each post I shall pass these childish wishes, they're piercing my stomach again and again.
Very Swiss Army Romance, very Dashboard Confessional vibe on that one. Here's what I said in the liner notes about it. Dorm life was originally conceived in a dormitory at Western Illinois University while frontman Samuel was visiting a friend. This is the first dorm life song he ever wrote, but was never released until now. That's right. I remember writing it, and it's like humming it in my head and writing it onto paper as I was driving to Western, and then finishing it in the dorm at my friend Melissa's, who is, by the way, the saddest girl to ever hold a martini. Okay, so like I said, I skipped over some artists, Dr. Manhattan, Ryan's Hope, The Broke Downs, and Vaporize as well, which became Boom Juice. But there's one other song that, on the digital version of this on Bandcamp, if you go to alarmclockrevolution.bandcamp.com, you can download this, and it has some modifications, and two of the modifications are 2 bonus tracks. One is a song featuring me off of the second Vaporize album, and that song is called Terra Incognita, I believe. I'm not going to play it because I intend on doing an episode on that album later in this series. But there's another bonus track on there by Me, Myself, and Rhyme, which puts us up to 3 Me, Myself, and Rhyme songs today. Like I said in the past, I covered Me, Myself, and Rhyme's debut LP. He was recording a bunch of material with Steady Murphy, and he ended up doing, I think, like 20-some songs worth of material. Life Suck Music Help or something like that was the name of the record. And then he put that out. It was like 10 songs digitally, only on SoundCloud. I don't know if it's up there still. I think I documented this back in episode 52. And then he had D-Sides, which was like another 10 songs. And the D-Sides, it contained a song by me and him. So I sang the hook on this. And I remember being at Steady Murphy's crib, just kind of came off the dome out of nowhere while I was hanging out with them. But this was while I was recording Boom Juice's Sleepless in Chicago with Vaporize. And so I was just feeling this whole Capricornius trying to be an R&B singer thing. This song is entitled Act Like You Know.
I never go, I never go, I never go, I never go.
Though I never say never, I never been better, but better I've never been ever, forever. Give me all my love.
Suburbanite all day, let me kettle one time. Drinks around the house, the basement's all mine. You can base your whole opinion on the basics, that's fine. Going overboard, critiquing he's beholders, that's I. Reality's no more because the camera cheats. You don't know if you wanna fuck it or punch it. Like Amanda P, the canopy of casual encounters. Count me out, accountability can be the love of life, watch out for now. No one ever gave me or paid me to be specific for the gift that I've been given. It'll pay me when I re-gift it. Dead Zone, Capone, Vago headphones, release the wire, get home, verbose, inspire, let's toast the classic, ask a less known that granted maybe doesn't have the knowledge of art. I'm never tucking my pride and get some pie from the chart. Time at a bottle that stops stinging around. It compounds stinging alive, doesn't matter, I'm mad at it down.
But I never say never, I never been better, but better I've never been ever, forever. Give me all my love.
Because I've been there, gone there, done that. Lawn chair, all spare moments like I edited out. I sit down till it's comfortable, breaking in with a sound so unfuckable with it'll make your babies go wild. Whip with the spell like damn B. Trampoline with the syllables, pillbox the enemy. Remember the past G? Pouring out your 40s, now you're in your 40s. Sorely mistaken that someone wouldn't save the sound the majority's making. Well here it is, hearing this is probably new. I was born to be making stacks blazing like firewood. But fuck the money, those who got it don't share. And those who got a lot of it probably got it in shares. But there's not a lot of it pocket, you got it to spare? Never mind, I'll do that shit myself like rocket a chair. You either I like the captain or I about the self. Cause wealth ain't really common, like caring about the commonwealth.
Well, I never say never, I never been better, but better off never than ever forever. Give me all my love.
That, my friends, is a banger. That brings me back to like the Pete Rock, early Pete Rock, CL Smooth, early 90s, that kind of vibe, DJ Premier, but more Pete Rock, I would say. That hook just kind of came out of nowhere, just wrote it on the spot, and unfortunately that was not pressed on any sort of physical format, the D-sides, nor the Life Suck Music Help, but you can go to alarmclockrevolution.bandcamp.com. Go get yourself a downloaded copy. I also have maybe about 5 copies left in the store of this CD if you really want one. However, that last track is not part of it. I also wanted to read one more thing about this CD before we close. All right, so there was a press release that my buddy David T. Cohen, aka Vaporize, put together for this CD, and just out of the goodness out of his heart. Great writer, great artist, great friend, had quite the vernacular, like a very well educated, well read person. And so he did a great job at writing this little press release. He wrote, "For immediate release, contact David T. Cohen," and put my little alarm clock logo on it. He says, "Alarm Clock Revolution to release 25 song CD compilation this November. Alarm Clock Revolution, the Chicago-based record label, is preparing to distribute their 6th release on November 25th, 2008. Alarm Comp, the 25 song compilation showcasing 20 unique bands and recording artists, will feature varying genres from punk to hip-hop to electronica. For this special release, the Alarm Clock team will be selling the new CD at the bargain price of only $5 per unit. Alarm Clock, which formed in 2005, has focused their energies on rock-based releases and aim to expand their brand image through this unique compilation." CEO Samuel Swanson stated, "The rationale for this compilation being so diverse in style and low-priced was based off of a model popular within the 1990s punk scene. The pricing and roster of this project are designed to keep listeners in tune with tangible and quality music in this changing digital climate, where the value of a physical release seems to be on the decline. Our aim is to bring that excitement back to the fans. Alarm Clock will be busy on their winter campaign supporting the new compilation with a series of local record release shows and internet promotions in late December." Wow, that really brings back some memories. Like I was trying to, I guess, number one, I was trying to pack in every genre I possibly could within our scene and friends that we knew, community, and I really liked just the idea of not limiting anyone's style. So I feel like with the diversity was there. Also, he mentioned in that press release that physical releases seem to be on the decline, this changing digital climate, like all that good stuff. 2008, dude, like that's when this came out. That was like 16 years ago or something like that. Kind of remarkable because that was when the initial recession started. That was when Obama was elected. That was when a lot of the bands, like I've mentioned, Dr. Manhattan, they were dropped from Vagrant because they couldn't sell units. They couldn't sell enough bands. Everything was changing and merging into like downloads, and eventually what would become today is streaming. But just thinking about what a weird little time capsule this is of independent art in a world that was about to just completely be unsustainable through physical means. Yeah, wow. I also remember dropping off these CDs at different merch booths. Like I remember bringing a box or two of these to This Is Me Smiling at the Metro when they were playing with the Hush Sound one time. I remember bringing them to Dr. Manhattan show at the Metro one time and leaving them there, handing them out at some of the shows. Yeah, I never did a proper release of this. 2008 was the year from 2001 to 2011, it was the one year that I never put out an actual album or EP myself. And that was, I guess, my year to kind of pay it forward was 2008. Kind of give it a breather and just create and see what comes. And yeah, I'm proud of this thing, man. I also forgot to mention that Brian Peters did the sequencing / mastering on this for me. He had also done the Midwest Blues Sides release for me when I was getting ready to put that out. Well, anyway, that's about all I got to say about the Alarm Comp, and be sure to check that out on Bandcamp. I look forward to updating you on the Red Tape in the future. Check out Stop, the music video, Lift a Mofo Up, and I will be back soon with another episode to cover the band Empires. Looking forward to covering the next 20 episodes here in the 80s now. Thank you for being with me, and go to the samswansonmusic.com/store. Get the Alarm Comp, get any other sort of merch from me. I appreciate the support, and thank you for your time.